Hey guys, welcome or welcome back to another video. It's me Jess, and in today's video I'm building an exterior to a beach house. Part 2 will be the interior, so stay tuned and enjoy. Okay, hi guys, so as said before, I'm building a beachy house because with the new map revamp we now have beach plots. Originally, to start with, I wanted to copy a house to exact from American house plans, but I soon realized that was not working in my favor and I decided to have a bit more creative freedom with it. So I apologize if you see a sudden change with how I approach the house style, but I do end up liking it a lot more in the end, and so I hope you guys do too. Anyways, right now I'm just working on the driveway to the build and the path itself. I do wish I made the house a little closer to the road. I'm not too happy with how far back it is, but you know what? It is what it is. It's not that it looked bad or anything, I don't know, maybe it was just too far for my liking. Maybe I've just been looking at this build way too much. Anyways, at this point I had finished marking out how I wanted my path, and then I started to colour it. I'm honestly not too sure why I chose to do grass at the start. It definitely didn't make it feel like a beach house at all. But I do end up fixing that later, so stay tuned. Also guys, let me know how you feel on this new style of editing. Now I'm just kind of voiceovering the videos as a whole, so I apologize if my editing is a bit choppy. I am learning as I go, so it's not going to be perfect straight away. Anyways, so in this clip I'm working on the front porch. I ended up using basic shapes because I just thought it would look a bit more cleaner than doing a roof in the basement. And in my opinion, I think it did. Then once it was done, I decided to make my own custom pillars because I just wanted to be special like that. They aren't nothing special, I didn't put a whole lot of detail into them, but they did add to the build. Here is what they looked like, and then I just started to place them around. I just added them to each corner of the porch. And then the picture I was following for this house had like a beam connected to them. Not really a beam, it was more so an archway, so I decided to make that using basic shapes. I honestly don't know where my builds would be without basic shapes. I seriously use them way too much. But you know what, they are what makes my builds come together. I will forever love basic shapes. I got a bit carried away there, but then I started to colour everything, and then I realised I needed to join more of the beam-like things together. For some weird reason, this process took me so long, but once I got the hang of it, it was all good. I was just messing around with it until I made it look right. And I did cut a lot of those clips out because I don't know why it took me so long. Here is what it was supposed to look like, and then I just did the exact same thing on the other side. That was pretty much the porch completed, but in the image, it had these cool little detailings I decided to add and create out of basic shapes. I do think they added a little bit of something to the build, so I just made that out of basic shapes again. I started off by making the actual frame for it, which looked like this, which isn't anything special, but I did raise it up so I had a bit of an easier time when putting these structural beams in. And I just did that all the way through until it was filled up. And here is how it looked like completed, which meant I needed to colour it, of course. I did choose this like creamy brown type of colour. I do think it's very pretty. Though I won't lie, it's been a bit hard to colour stuff lately with this new update, because they've done something to the lighting which gives it a different hue. But it's okay, I can make do. Anyways, once I was done colouring, I placed the thing onto the ground and then raised it up so it fit where it was supposed to. And then I proceeded to do that on both of the other sides, and I just lifted them up and then fixed up the framing to fit and make it look more accurate. And then of course I just repeated that onto the other side. I probably should have quickly mentioned this at the start, but this is not a speed build whatsoever. I'm just trying out new styles with editing. But if you guys do want to recreate this house, you guys are more than welcome to. Anyways, at this point I was trying to find the perfect colour for the porch, which did take me a while with the new lighting, but I did eventually find it. And then I thought it needed some lighting, so I included those. And then I started to colour the whole house itself white. Looking back on my recordings is making me realise how much of an indecisive and inconsistent builder I am. I don't think I could ever be a speed builder. Like, props to all the speed build YouTubers out there, but I feel like if I were to be one, I would probably make so many people angry if they were trying to follow my steps. Oh, it's probably important to mention that at this point I was doing the layout of the house so I could do the roof, and I was just copying what the American house plans had, and at this point this was pretty much it, and then I was just working on the back porch. But I don't think the back is too important right now because I don't end up working on it for a good while. So once I was done, I decided to try and do this roof. This roof gave me so many issues, guys. It literally took me 40 minutes to do, and I had to cut out so much editing. Because if you just look in a moment, you can see how whack this roof is, and it took me so many tries, and I still wasn't even happy with the end result. But just look at this, look at the side, what is going on over there? Anyways, after a lot of attempts of doing this roof, this is what it ended up looking like. I think the front turned out okay, but the back of the roof was horrendous, and I did fix that later. But yay, now the house is starting to look like a house. For some weird reason, I decided to add these wall trims around the house, but I really did not like that later, and I did delete these because I thought they just made the build look a bit busy. Oh, and then all of a sudden I'm working on the garage doors, so now I'm adding pillars around each of them. And then I used my Transform Plus tool to shift them into the ground. Look at this inconsistency, all of a sudden I'm working on a window now. I decided to make custom windows because I just think they look a little better. And I just did that by making a window, sizing it to the size I wanted, and then I just lined it with structural beams. And I just coloured it to be white to match with the rest of the house. It wasn't anything too extreme, but I do think it added a bit of something, and then now that it was done, I was placing the windows around the front. Again, I was trying to make it accurate to the image that I was following. Oh, what are your guys' opinions on the new map revamp? Because I honestly love it. At first I was a bit iffy about it, but then I soon realised like it's honestly amazing. I love it so much. It really did start to grow on me, and delivering pizzas is so much more funner now. The aesthetic of the town is so pretty, and it just makes delivering pizzas so much better. I'm getting carried away again, but right now I'm working on the window a bit more, and I'm adding these little beams to support the thing above the window. I don't know what it's called, I apologize guys. Here is how it ended up turning out like, and I just placed them against the wall to where I think they needed to go, and then I used my Transform Plus to lift them up to support the structures. In the photo I was following, they also use these as like a design feature, so I did include those to the front of the build as well and on the garage. As you can see, I added these to the garage, and this is how it was looking like. And then the garage had a cool little awning type of thing above it. I also don't know what that's called, but I decided to make that. It was pretty much similar to the ones I made earlier. I used structures, and it kind of ended up looking like a ladder from above. Okay, I'm so sorry for the sudden cut in the video, but in this next clip, this is where you see the big difference. I had completely changed up the color scheme, which gave me a new motivation to continue building. So let me give you guys the reveal of it, which is this. I think it looks so much better and so much more beachy. So because it started to look a lot more like a beach house to me, I started to recolor the sand. And in my opinion, I just like it so much more. And also I did add some decals and made these custom palm trees. This is where the video gets more fun in my opinion, because I'm actually decorating a whole lot more. Guys, these palm trees took me so long because they were like a puzzle to make, and if you guys look closely you can see like little basic cubes inside of them. But you know what, it's fine, they looked okay, so I just started placing them around, and they were so expensive too. They were like 15k. Anyways, once I was done, I decided to finally add the front door, and I just colored them to match the garage. And then I decided to make the garden beds, and I used the texture pebbles. I think it's such a pretty texture. And I think it looked really fitting for this build despite not being able to see it that much because it eventually gets covered up with plants. Oh, and then I thought the house needed some texture, so I decided to do that, but I ended up using basic shapes instead, and here is how it ended up turning out like. And I was just showing you guys that like it is basic shapes because it was a lot more efficient. And I literally just spammed that around. And here is how it looked like with a bit more texture. And then I thought the entryway was missing a bit of something, so I decided to make my own custom fencing. And I love making this fencing for a bit more detail. I just use candles, color the light itself to be black, and then color the candlestick to be the color of the fence I want. And I just spam that all the way through the end of the basic shape. And then once that's done, I get another basic shape, place it above it so it's like the railing. And that's pretty much all I do, but for this one I decided to add a bit more detail and add another one on top and size it to be a little bit bigger so it looked like it was a bit more detailed. And then I wanted to try something and give it like a wood texture, but I didn't like how it was looking, so I decided to get another basic shape and size it into the railing. I then sized it to be a bit smaller so it wasn't glitching, and then we have this little wood surface, and I do like how it turned out, and I placed that on the other side. And then I decided to start adding rocks around the place, so I was just making a few different sizes and trying to find different types of rocks, and I could only find these two. I could have sworn there were like so many more rock variants, but these were the only ones I could find. But you know what, it's fine because I still ended up spamming those around and the build still looked okay in the end. Amongst the rocks, I thought it would be really cute and a bit more realistic to add some ferns inside of them as if they've overgrown. I don't really know, I just thought it looked a little better, so I went a bit crazy with that. And then once done, I decided to add these lights around to the garages as well, just to give them a bit more detail because I thought they were looking a bit bare. In this next clip, I decided to start doing some of the planting, but I seriously hated how it looked and it just started to look overgrown and it didn't match the vibe that I was hoping for. So this all gets deleted eventually, but here is me just trying to mess around with them and trying to make them look good, but I seriously wasn't happy with the way it was turning out. Like, these just looked like overgrown weeds. So I deleted them all and then did the gardening off camera, and I will show you guys now. This is how it ended up turning out like, and I just thought it looked so much better. I did end up doing a bit more gardening on camera and adding a few more rocks because I guess you can never have too many rocks. I was mainly using the rocks to cover up the harsh lines, and I do think it did help. Oh, and of course, it wouldn't be a beach house without the random sand piles, so I did include those, and I only added 2, I believe. I just didn't want to overcrowd it, and honestly, it's such a small little difference, I don't think it really matters. While doing that, I realized how much I didn't like this roof, and I decided to make it look a bit more cleaner using the tall traditional molding. And my goal was just to try and make it blend in more and look more cohesive with the build. So I just made that and copied the same exact thing to the other side, and I do think it added a bit more depth and made it look a bit better in the end. Such a small difference, but I do think it helped a whole lot. But then I was looking at it some more and I thought it needed a bit more detailing, so I decided to do this roofing detail I found of Tiger's tutorial. I really do love his videos, they're so cool. He's such a talented builder. So once I made it, I decided to transform it into the roof, and I do really love the way it looked. So I am very glad I decided to add this, and I added them to the rest of the roofs. As you can see, it looks gorgeous, and then I was like, it needs a bit more blue, so I decided to make my own custom shutters, and I did that through basic shapes, of course. I sized it to the window length, and then I placed it outside so it was easier to do, and I colored it to be a blue shade. And then I had to line it with the structural beams to give it the detail, of course, and I just did this the whole way through until it looked a bit like a shutter, and I quickly colored them before it was too late, otherwise that was just going to take up more time. Here is how it ended up turning out like, and then I decided to place them around the windows where I thought needed them. And to make them actual shutters, I just used my Transform Plus tool to raise them up, and I slanted them slightly. And then obviously I repeated those to the other windows that I thought needed them. Okay, it is now time to work on the backyard. I did a bit of planning off camera so it would make the filming process a bit easier. So right now I'm working on this bonfire area. I just decided to add some stones and rocks around it to enclose the area, and here is how it ended up looking like. And of course, if you have a bonfire, we need to add some nice cute seating around it, so I added these benches. And I just placed them around and then colored them to match, of course, and I added a cute little blanket on one of the benches to make it seem a little more cozier, and I colored it to be like this bluish green color. Once that was done, I still wasn't happy with this area, so I decided to do a bit more planting. So I added some hedges and some bushes around on like a diagonal type of thing, and then I obviously had to include some decal plants as well to tie it all in, and that was it for that area, which meant it was time for this little opening. I decided to do a little opening here so you can walk out to the beach and easy access like it's a second property. So I used these stones to fade out, and then I got some regular rocks and decorated the fencing a bit more to make it look a little nicer, as well as a few plants and ferns. And that was pretty much it for this area, which meant it was time to work on this little outdoor kitchen. I already did a bit of work off camera, which meant it was time to just colour everything and decorate a bit more. I knew I definitely wanted a blue themed kitchen, so I started to make that happen, and I just played around with colours and textures until the counters looked like this, and then I obviously needed to colour everything else, so I started to work on that, and then I did the lighting because I didn't like how dark it was, so I brightened that and then coloured all the rest of the lights. So here is how it was looking. So now we needed to decorate a bit more. I thought it would be really cute to add a decal plant, so I started working on that. It took me a while to get the right size, but it eventually got there and added it to this corner. I also thought it would be fitting for that corner to have a few plates stacked up upon each other, so I did that and recolored them to a different shade of white. It's such a small detail, but I thought it was cute, and then I decided to make a quick little custom cutting board, which also turned out really cute. I just made that really quickly and then colored it to be the beige color of the spoons, but I darkened the shade and then I added it behind the flowers as just a small little detail. And then of course we needed to detail the sink a bit more, so we needed to add some soaps. I added 2 bottles of soaps and recolored them. And then I didn't think that was enough soap, so I decided to add a bar of soap in front of them as well, and I recolored that, which meant after this it was time to work on the actual outdoor living space. For this area, I knew these seats would be perfect, so I used those and played around with them until I eventually came up with this layout. I then wanted the seats to match with the kitchen, so I made them blue and beige so it felt coastal, and then I cluttered them with some pillows. Here is how that turned out, and then obviously I needed to add a blanket for more coziness, and I just changed the shade of that. I then started to work on a cute little coffee table. I've seen a lot of people use these wooden pallets and make coffee tables out of them, so I thought that would be really cute to include into this build. So I just stacked 2 on top of each other, and then I got basic shapes in the translucent and sized it to the size I wanted and coloured it. Now that the coffee table was done, it meant we can go and clutter it, so I decided to add this book and a decal plant. It kind of annoys me how it glitches with the table, but I'm okay to ignore it. I then thought it would be cute to add these mugs around the table as if 2 people had been just out here. I added another book and did a different shade of blue and coloured the mugs. I thought the table was still looking a bit bland, so I decided to add these 2 vases. I just changed the size of them up and coloured them, of course. I think the vases helped it a lot, but while I was doing that I realised how much I hated this floor texture out the back, so I recolored it and did this texture instead and changed it to a white shade, and I just thought it looked so much better. I then did a few more small little details, which meant it was time for the grand reveal. Let's finally have a final look of what we've done for today's video, and then the next video will be the interior. Okay, so here is the house in all of her glory. I think she looks amazing. I love the little details we've added. I think it looks so cute, and I'm so happy with the final product. At the back turned out pretty cute as well. I really do enjoy the colour scheme we chose. I think I could have done a little better, but I do think it's cute. Just look how gorgeous this sitting area looks. I really love the colours. And of course we've got our little outdoor kitchen, which turned out so cute as well. And then right beside it we have our cute little bonfire. I think I could have done better over here, but I still think it turned out pretty cute. I love the pebbles. And of course we've got the pool. And that includes today's video. If you guys stayed all the way to the end, I appreciate you guys so much. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video as much as I did, and I'll see you guys in part 2.